Absolutely amazing. I installed a hidden camera and discovered a shocking truth about my husband. Sarah stared at the blinking red light of the tiny hidden camera, her heart racing. What was she doing? The thought of spying on Tom, her husband of 8 years, made her stomach churn, but doubt gnawed at her. He was always busy, always on the phone, leaving her feeling like a ghost in their own home. What if the perfect facade of their marriage was merely an illusion? Fear wrapped around her like a vice. She couldn't shake the idea that he was hiding something beneath the surface. Fighting a swell of guilt, she took a deep breath and walked away, leaving the camera to record what she couldn't bear to see directly. As days turned into weeks, moments of discomfort lingered around her like a thick fog. The demands of home, 2 boisterous kids, and an abandoned artistic career pressed down on her. Each time the door opened and Tom stepped inside, she felt a suffocating combination of love, resentment, and longing. He seemed so assured, so successful in his role as an insurance agent, while Sarah felt shackled by her identity as a stay-at-home mom. She questioned everything. Who was she now? What had she become? Did Tom see more than just a mother when he looked at her? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sitting in the living room, with the camera recording her unease, Sarah wrestled with an inner turmoil that threatened to consume her. What if the truth shattered their marriage? Was she making a mistake? Jealousy mixed with desperation, and she found herself plagued by questions she didn't want to voice. The warmth of their shared memories mingled with the chill of suspicion. Every phone call he took late at night echoed in her mind. Every time Tom smiled at her, the glimmer of doubt clouded that smile with mistrust. With each passing moment, she felt restless, a caged artist yearning for flight. She longed to paint again, to breathe life onto a canvas, but the brush she had set aside felt heavier than ever. Emotions swirled. A storm of anger surged inside her, igniting a spark of determination to reclaim what had been lost. Yet it seemed increasingly impossible, wrapped in Tom's shadow, feeling more like an accessory to his successful life than a partner. Just as she prepared to confront him, a flash of light flickered on the monitor, capturing Tom in an unexpected moment. He was in their living room, kneeling beside their children's art supplies, his hands busy writing personal checks. Her heart sank as uncertainty swelled. What was he doing? As the camera recorded, her perspective shifted, bringing her to the edge of an emotional precipice where everything she thought she understood was about to unravel. As the screen illuminated Tom's secret with each passing frame, she realized the reality could either reaffirm her suspicions or send her spiraling deeper into a web of confusion. Would her quest for the truth bring her closer to him or push them further apart? The following days felt like an endless limbo, each clock tick echoing her pent-up anxiety. Sarah replayed the moments captured by the camera in her mind, dissecting Tom's gestures and expressions with growing unease. What had once been ordinary flourished into a tangled web of interpretations. The checks. The way he looked distracted, weighed down. Was it guilt? Or merely distraction from work stress? Her instinct to uncover the truth had set her on a turbulent path, but every question she ventured toward didn't lead her to answers. They led to self-doubt. The thought of discovering that Tom's actions were innocent gnawed at her conscience, yet the specter of betrayal remained hauntingly close. Was she prepared for either outcome? Determined to empower herself, Sarah began to channel her frustrations into a newfound focus. She dusted off her paintbrushes and pulled out the worn canvases that were littered in the attic. Each stroke became a frenzy of color, feelings spilling out of her like a bursting dam. The intoxicating smell of paint filled her studio, an escape from confusion. As she layered strokes of deep indigo and crimson, she lost herself, invigorated by the sense of control it afforded her. Every vibrant color became a declaration of her essence, a counterpoint against the shadows lurking in her life. Amidst the chaos of art, she invested time in her professional aspirations, digging into local art classes and networking events after hours. She felt an itch for creation and exploration of her identity as an artist, something she had suppressed for too long. Yet, she still felt tethered to Tom's potential deceit, leaving her creatively torn. She decided to join a weekend workshop on abstract painting. It was time to reclaim her passion and slowly, her confidence. Enter the workshop space. She was surrounded by other artists, each consumed by their own craft. Immediately, Sarah felt a warmth envelop her, a camaraderie she had missed. As the teacher encouraged her to let go and embrace spontaneity, she began to paint without constraints. Layer after colorful layer built her confidence, freeing her of preconceived notions about her skills, embracing the vulnerability of expressing herself on canvas. One Saturday afternoon, as she blended colors with fervor, Sarah felt someone watching her. Turning, she met the eyes of another participant, an artist named Jenna, who had noticed her intensity. "Your work is stunning, the emotion you put into it is palpable," Jenna remarked, striking a chord within Sarah. Support felt alien yet inviting, unearthing a longing she's overlooked in her marriage. As she spoke with Jenna about her creative journey, the conversation veered towards the stark reality of relationships. Jenna shared stories of rediscovering oneself after experiencing a partner's discontent. The implications of her own situation began to weigh heavier, eliciting a sinking realization that perhaps her observations about Tom were warranted. This dialogue reignited the embers of self-worth that had grown cold, opening spaces in her mind filled with possibilities. That night, Tom returned home late again. The door clicked shut, and Sarah listened as he moved about the house. Her jaw tightened, battered by conflicting emotions, a nostalgic yearning for the man she fell in love with twisted with the anxiety of the unknown. She felt a surge of determination. Perhaps it was time for a confrontation. Tomorrow could hold the truth that she feared. The reality awaited her, as the camera continued to capture their hidden life. The next step would be hers to unearth. She pondered this as she drifted off to sleep, resting on the brink of a transformative revelation. What she found or discovered about Tom might reinstate the lost connection or shatter the final threads holding their life together. The pivotal moment approached, and Sarah braced herself for the unknown. The morning light crept into the room, casting soft shadows across Sarah's face. She awoke with a clarity that had been absent for days, a peculiar energy flooding her. Today would not be business as usual. The weight of yesterday mingled with the daring sense of purpose that surged within her. She was ready to confront the unknown. Her mind buzzed with thoughts of her art and the burgeoning friendships she had made, yet an ever-present anxiety crackled beneath the surface. Navigating the emotions of uncertainty in her marriage felt daunting, but perhaps that was a necessary part of her journey. After all, this confrontation would either lead her towards clarity or push her further into the depths of doubt. As she prepared breakfast, she scanned the dwelling that had nurtured their life together. The kitchen felt like a relic of mirth and routine, and yet the unaddressed chasm between them loomed larger each day. Tom's arrival time had shifted like the seasons, but today, the routine must yield to a new trajectory. After setting the table, she sat down, each tick of the clock amplifying her heart rate. A wave of fear rushed through her. What if he denied everything? What if she had misjudged him entirely? Sarah had grown tired of languishing in the whirlpool of what-ifs, and she longed to trust her instincts. Her gaze landed on her half-finished painting resting against the wall, vibrant strokes of crimson mingling with the calm of ocean blue. The colors represented uncertainty and courage, emotions that captured her current state. Perhaps the canvas was more than decor, it was a reflection of her evolving beliefs and fears. Tom entered with his usual hurried energy, muttering a distracted, "Good morning." The familiarity of his presence only compounded her resolve. Setting aside her apprehensions, she looked him square in the eye, summoning the courage she had chiseled away over the last weeks. "Can we talk?" The simplicity of her request belied the emotional tempest swirling within. Surprise flickered across his face. He immediately paused, distracted readings of guilt bled into his expression. "Sure, what's up?" He busied himself with coffee, a subtle attempt to cloak his discomfort. But today, Sarah would pull back the curtain. "Things haven't felt normal between us lately," she began, her voice steadier than she anticipated. I need to understand what's really going on. As she laid bare her worries, she watched his body language, a raised brow, the tightening of his jaw, signals that did not go unnoticed. He stiffened, and for a moment, her heart sank, uncertainty creeping in. But then an unexpected steadiness sprang forth. What do you think is happening? His question poked at the edges of her resolve, a challenge concealed in familiar tones. I think there's more to your late nights, she urged, alluding to the fragmented conversations of their past, desperation weaving through her words. I need you to be honest with me. A tension filled the space between them, thick and unyielding. Silence. Tom's gaze lowered, emotions shifting like the colors on her canvas, revealing layers beneath the surface. Every heartbeat pushed Sarah forward, emboldened by the art and connections she had forged recently. She recognized her worth and demanded clarity, eager to free herself from the shadows. Tom hesitated, a glimpse of vulnerability flickering through the veil of discomfort. I guess I have been distracted, he finally admitted, voice barely above a whisper. The air crackled with charged honesty, and Sarah felt her heart race anew, a mixture of fear and anticipation filling her chest. This moment might be the key to unraveling everything. Tom's revelation could either affirm her fears or lead them both to an unexpected path toward healing. As she searched his face, she realized their conversation might not just resolve the question of fidelity but redefine the essence of their partnership. Her next words hovered on the brink of her lips, ready to push the conversation deeper into uncharted territories. Then what is causing it? The stakes escalated, both fear and hope intertwining as Sarah prepared for the depths of truth to unfold. The moment had arrived, and the horizon of their relationship loomed before them, the outcome yet to be uncovered. The moment stretched like taffy, heavy with the unspoken possibilities that loomed before them. Tom's eyes darted away, clearly avoiding her gaze. Each second felt like a beat in a heartbeat that echoed through her, urging her to press on. Tom, she murmured, searching for the words that would penetrate his defenses. You can't hide from me forever. I need to know what's really going on. Her tone was assertive yet tinged with an underlying fear of what their truth might unveil. What if the answer wouldn't just change their relationship dynamics but redefine who she was as a partner? He clenched his jaw, and she could see his mind grappling with her request. What could he possibly be hiding? The seeds of doubt began to sprout in the fertile soil of her anxiety, but she shushed them, reminding herself of the strength she had cultivated through her art and brave conversations with Jess and Mia. Those threads of connection fortified her resolve. I've been overwhelmed, he finally admitted, tone almost pleading. There are things I haven't shared, work pressures, old friends trying to reconnect. I just didn't want to burden you. Old friends? The words slipped out, her voice sharper than intended. Is that what this is really about? Because it sounds like you're building more walls instead of breaking them down. The force of her confrontation startled them both, but she didn't allow herself to retract. This moment was fertile ground for growth, and she needed to dig deeper. Tom frowned, but the flicker of vulnerability was momentarily replaced by something harder: defensiveness. You make it sound like I'm doing this on purpose. It was easier to keep you out of it. Easier for whom? She challenged. Realization washed over her, and the clarity from earlier in the day surged like a tide. She was fed up with circumventing matters to keep him comfortable. If he needed to confront his turmoil, she would be rooting for him, not shielding him. With resolve, she leaned forward, her voice steady. I want to be a partner in whatever this is. But I can't be if you want to let me in. The weight behind her words pressed against the walls of their shared space, demanding change. Tom's fingers brushed against the coffee mug, but his focus shifted from the table to the door connecting their kitchen to the outside world. It dawned on her the looming shadows weren't merely internal but also external entities. She'd never fully addressed the pressures of the world outside their home had forged a rift within their relationship. Just as a flicker of understanding ignited in his eyes, uncertainty cloaked her heart. Did she have the tools to lead him out of this? Hadn't she just recently uncovered her own fears through both art and conversation? Tom, she continued, her voice softer. What if we faced this together? What if we let the world in, instead of pushing each other away. I can't promise I'll have all the answers, but I want my voice to matter. Don't you want that too? His shoulders relaxed slightly, and she could sense a shift in him, a tentative willingness to explore their deep-seated issues collectively instead of allowing trivial distractions to seep into their union. I want that, he said, breath hitching slightly. As she watched the glimmers of acceptance crack his exterior, a sense of victory swelled within her. Yet an internal voice cautioned against becoming complacent. Every area of vulnerability revealed risk. Would he be honest enough to delve deeper when the real work began? The stakes felt higher than ever, and the revelation that both bore responsibility in their relationship's frailty was dawning. Just then, their phones chimed in unison, Tom's text alert ringing an unfamiliar tone, pulling them from the moment's gravity. Sarah's heart raced as Tom picked up the phone, curiosity and dread intertwined. "Who's that?" she asked, voice wavering. He didn't respond immediately, glancing sideways at her with a guarded expression. Each tick of the clock felt like an impending decision that could either cement their progress or hurl them back into chaos. The answer that waited behind the screen felt like a new precipice they were about to walk right over, and uncertainty gripped her once again. What more would this day reveal? A heavy silence filled the room, punctuated only by the persistent ping of notifications echoing from Tom's phone. Sarah felt a cold knot of anxiety twist in her stomach. The moment they had just started to unravel suddenly felt threatened by an unknown variable, lurking just beyond her control. "Tom?" she pressed, her voice dipping slightly, laced with tension. She could see his fingers hesitated over the screen, his brow furrowing deeper as he read whatever message had elicited such a serious response from him. "You said you wanted to do this together. What is it? Who is it?" His eyes darted between the screen and her questioning gaze. It's a message from Ben," he finally said, the name hanging heavy in the air. Ben. The name struck a chord, awakening the unease she had felt since he mentioned old friends. A painful reminder of a chapter of Tom's life untouched in their current reality. Was this the person causing the invisible barrier? "You can't let fear dictate your thoughts," she reminded herself, pushing back against the rising tide of doubt. Suddenly, she remembered Mia's words about boundaries and how sometimes it was okay to not hear every detail. But was their relationship strong enough for that? "What does he want?" she asked, a mix of curiosity fueling her determination to push through the uncertainty. Tom took a deep breath and shifted in his seat. Rather than answering her, he set the phone down and faced her, expression now a mix of concern and struggle. "He's been reaching out about some business opportunities. It's complicated." "Complicated how?" Her heart raced. Maybe it was the intensity of the conversation, or perhaps the emotional walls were finally beginning to dissolve. The answer was vital. It could be a turning point, or it could widen the chasm between them. "Ben and I used to have a different kind of friendship," Tom revealed cautiously. "He was someone I leaned on when things weren't great. But, well, I've been hesitant. I thought you might have thoughts about reconnecting." His admission hung with hesitant weight. For Sarah, this revelation felt like both an opening and a threat. Through years of shared narrative, they had built intimacy based on trust. But would rekindling the past invite the shadows that once haunted them? "Do you want to talk to him?" she asked, trying to keep her composure. The thought of Tom navigating the remnants of an old life ignited fears shrouded in envy and vulnerability. "Honestly?" Tom's face softened with sincerity, his shoulders relaxing slightly. "I'm not sure. Maybe it's just I'm trying to avoid looking too deeply into what's been bothering me. That conversation could expose things about myself I'm not prepared to deal with." His honesty was refreshing, yet it sent electricity racing through her. Moments of shared vulnerability were necessary, but could she trust him to reveal all the layers of their intertwined lives? Suddenly, her artistic practice, where honesty carved raw expression, echoed in her mind. "If it's difficult, then maybe we should face it together," she said, concern laced with strength. He nodded slowly, a silent agreement flowing between them. They had lightly touched upon the need for openness. The conceivable risk of discomfort now felt essential, a step towards unity rather than chaos. Yet, as they exchanged hesitant looks, a realization struck her: this dynamic wouldn't just reshape Tom's past, it would challenge her to confront her insecurities about the present. Could she stand firm as he confronted his connections? She could feel the walls of her own fears begin to tremble. Together, we can explore those memories, she suggested, her voice steady but her heart pounding. She had faced her artistry. Would she be able to navigate this personal challenge? His gaze grew determined, nodding vigorously. For every unsettling message, every past friendship that might lure him emotionally away, she wouldn't stand resentfully in the shadows. This was her moment to take charge, to face her fears and define her space in their shared narrative. Just then, the phone buzzed again, Tom's screen illuminating with another alert. Her breath stilled, the distinct anticipation turned into dread. What did the unknown still hold for them? Would they emerge fortified or face ruins of their own making? Before Tom could pick up the phone, she whispered, almost to herself, "What if there's more you're not telling me?" The words hung heavy in the air, a cliffhanger poised to topple them over the edge. What would they uncover about each other in this moment of vulnerability, and how would it shape who they became? As the phone buzzed again, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation and unspoken fears. Sarah's heart drummed a rapid beat, a mix of urgency and anxiety surging through her. She felt as though they were standing on the precipice of something monumental, ready to either leap into understanding or fall back into uncertainty. Tom's face reflected a similar tumult. The mobile device in his hand held immense power over their fate. "Should we check it together?" Sarah suggested, voice steady but her insides quaking. There was an inexplicable weight to this moment, and for once, she felt a stronger urge to delve deeper into the murky waters of their relationship rather than shy away. The uncertainty hung like a fog, but she was determined to confront it head-on. Tom hesitated, glancing from the phone to her face. "Maybe it's better to just let it be." His avoidance stung, creating a rippling wave of doubt. "Or maybe it's an opportunity for us to truly understand each other," she countered, her conviction igniting. "What's the worst that could happen? You'd just be talking to an old friend." In that moment, she sensed a shift in her own perception. It was no longer just about Tom's past, it pointed to her growth, her willingness to engage authentically despite the potential for discomfort. "Okay," Tom finally agreed, taking a deep breath. "Let us see what he wants." He unlocked the screen and scrolled through the new message as Sarah leaned forward, a pulse of energy passing between them. The message was simple, yet it sent a jolt through both of them. "Can we meet? I need to discuss some ideas that could really benefit us." Sarah felt a rush of emotions, curiosity intertwined with the fear of what this meeting could evoke. There was something about Ben that unsettled her. He was the ghost of Tom's past, a previous chapter that could pull Tom back into the very shadows they were fighting to leave behind. "Are you going to reply?" Sarah asked, watching Tom's fingers hover over the screen. His hesitation amplified the noise in her mind. Would he rekindle old connections without considering the impact on their relationship? "Should I?" Tom's eyes traveled to her, searching. In that moment, she recognized the internal battle he faced, not just with Ben, but with the parts of himself that remained entangled in the past. Only if you can approach it with clarity. With the intention of knowing what you want. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, pressing against the walls that separated them. Tom took a deep breath, visibly wrestling with his thoughts. She could see the recognition in his eyes, as if they had both finally confronted the elephant in the room, the fear of vulnerability that had sculpted the contours of their relationship. "All right. I'll reply," he said decisively, typing a response. The act felt monumental, the silence vibrating with energy. It wasn't merely about a name popping up in his contacts anymore. It was an exploration of boundaries, of trust, a partnership among complexities that intertwined their lives. As the minutes dragged on, the momentum shifted, and a part of Sarah shifted within, igniting a bold determination. She realized she had to mirror this newfound bravery. If Tom was going to confront the fog of his past, she needed to explore her own. What barriers had she erected to safeguard her heart? What truths about her own past did she hesitate to unveil? In that shift of focus, she saw an opportunity to grow not merely alongside Tom, but as an individual who was equally deserving of liberation from her own fears. Have you thought about what you really want from this? She pressed, her voice steady. If Ben is part of this conversation, let us not forget that your own narrative is also at stake. You don't have to bear that alone. His eyes locked onto hers, understanding dawning there. In that moment, the possibility of mutual support and shared exploration enveloped their dialogue, softly breaking down the barriers that had divided them. Just as Tom opened his mouth to respond, a new buzz emanated from his device. This time, it felt ominous, a reminder that the journey they were about to embark upon was more treacherous than they might have anticipated. Would they confront only the past, or would the inquiry unravel the truth about their relationship? What else is there? Tom murmured, peering at the screen, his expression shifting from determination to disbelief. Everyone has secrets, and as Sarah awaited Tom's reaction, she pondered what hidden truths both of them might still be guarding. Would they find strength together, or face revelations that might ultimately redefine everything they believed in? As the silence stretched uncomfortably, Tom's face hardened, straining against the tide of emotions threatening to pull him under. Sarah watched him, sensing the tension simmering within, the way his jaw clenched and unclenched like a coiled spring. It was in these moments that Sarah recognized the precarious balance they were trying to maintain, not just between each other, but within themselves. Tom's fingers danced hesitantly over the screen, his breath shallow. Abruptly, he set the phone down on the table, the device between them like a wall. I don't know if I'm ready for this, he said, his voice low, the weight of his admission palpable. What are you afraid will happen? Sarah's question floated in the air, laced with a mixture of challenge and curiosity. It was vital for her to understand. This wasn't just about Ben anymore, it was about their shared narrative, veering into a dangerous territory of unspoken fears and unresolved histories. I hate not knowing what to expect, he replied, his gaze focused on the floor, a place where shadows hid secrets. What if it opens a door I can't close? With each word, Sarah felt a compelling urge to peel back the layers of his uncertainty. But isn't that the only way to move forward? She asked gently. Don't we deserve to know what lies behind that door? If we stand here, paralyzed by fear, we might never escape the past. Tom finally lifted his eyes to meet hers, and in that moment, Sarah saw the struggle etched on his face, the desire for clarity battling against the caution that had long governed his choices. He nodded slowly, as if coming to terms with the reality of their conversation. You're right, he breathed. But it doesn't make it any easier. That's true. Growth is often uncomfortable, Sarah replied, feeling a newfound resolve anchor her feet to the ground. It wasn't merely about pushing Tom, it was about holding space for both their vulnerabilities. It was about exploring the uncharted territories of their relationship, against the backdrop of their fears. An unexpected vulnerability washed over her as well. Realizing her own past was also influenced by hidden scars, she felt compelled to reveal as much as she urged Tom to divulge. I feel more secure knowing we both share our truths. We can't expect to build something solid if we are holding parts of ourselves back. Tom didn't respond for a moment. He hesitated, contemplating the implications of his response. It's just, there are things I haven't shared either, things I've buried because I thought they wouldn't matter. His voice wavered, revealing the chasms of doubt that threatened to consume him. What if we compare those things now? Sarah suggested, the words escaping her before she could stop them. The action felt daring, a step into a precarious territory that could either fracture their bond or strengthen it. He met her gaze with a glimmer of desperation, asking questions her heart wanted to answer. He seemed to grasp the idea that sharing could lighten their burdens, yet the uncertainty of where those revelations could lead still loomed like storm clouds. Okay, he finally murmured, almost as if he were affirming a pact. The weight of two histories hung between them, an invitation to alter their trajectory. Before either of them could delve deeper into the conversation, Tom's phone buzzed again. This time, it rattled Sarah's resolve as much as his. Feeling the tension spiral into a knot of anxiety deep inside her, she couldn't help but think they were standing on the edge of something transformative. "Do you think that's him?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Tom's expression fell, but there was a flicker of determination hidden there too. "It might be time to find out what happens next," he said, lifting the phone reluctantly as if it were a ticking bomb. As Sarah watched him, a rush of vulnerability enveloped her. They were about to peel back layers of not just Tom's past, but perhaps her own. Would this meeting provoke their shadows or illuminate them? Tom's fingers steadied over the screen as he readied his response. What had they dared to open, and could they truly handle what lay beneath? Just as he began to type, Sarah's mind raced with questions she had long suppressed, echoing their potential for both revelation and heartbreak. Are we truly ready to uncover it all? She thought, knowing that the answer could alter everything they had built. A single truth, once spoken, could shatter or define them, and she held her breath, waiting to see which direction they would take. Tom's thumb hovered over the phone screen, uncertainty coiling tightly in his gut. In that moment, the room felt stifling, the weight of expectations pressing down like a rain-soaked sky. The air crackled with possibilities. Each option lay before him like paths diverging in a dense forest, and he felt paralyzed by a fear of choosing wrong. "Sarah," he said, his voice barely rising above a whisper, "if I respond, what if there's no turning back? What if I let him in, and everything falls apart instead of becoming clearer?" Her gaze softened as she leaned closer, her brow furrowed in understanding. "You're not just opening up dialogue with him, Tom. You're allowing yourself to process the past. This could be how you reclaim your narrative, your power. But if you remain silent, you allow others to dictate your story." He sighed, appreciating her perseverance, yet conflicted by the shadows stretching from his past years of regret, guilt, and doubt wrapped around him like chains. Tom considered how isolating it was to hold such burdens alone. He shouldered the weight of difficult memories, the spiral of feelings that never quite settled. "What if I'm not worthy of that power?" he murmured, grappling with the familiar urge to dissolve into self-doubt. "Worthy?" she echoed, her tone soft yet firm. "Your voice matters, Tom. You've denied yourself that for so long." As the minutes passed in the tense silence, Tom's thoughts twisted and turned. The lurking fear he harbored, his timid attempts at self-discovery had kept him at arm's length from vulnerability. Yet in confronting those fears alongside Sarah, he sensed an ember of resilience flickering within him, a part of him beginning to stir. What if, instead of fearing the worst, he took a step forward, no longer stifled by embarrassment, shame, or desperation? There was no escaping his past, it formed part of the fabric of who he was, just as Sarah's experiences shaped her. He could either suffocate under its weight or allow it to propel him forward. "Okay, I need to respond," Tom declared, the words rushing out in a wave of finality. Uncertainty trembled in the pit of his stomach while a shiver of exhilaration coursed through him. "But I also want us to share. I want us to confront our truths together." Sarah's expression brightened, her eyes filled with mirth. "I'm all in," she affirmed, her voice imbued with courage. "But I don't want this to become a script. What we share should come from a place of authenticity, no rehearsals or superficiality." "Agreed." Tom's determination solidified. He felt less alone, the shared vulnerability between them growing stronger than any fear. He turned his attention back to the screen. The buzzing phone was an opening, a chance to unlock something hidden, to carve out a new beginning. Tom replied with a short message, just enough to hint at willingness without divulging everything just yet. As he pressed send, a shimmering sense of potential filled the space around him. There was power in the choice to engage with his past rather than run from it. "I'm scared," he admitted, closing his eyes momentarily as if amplifying his admission. "But maybe this is what growth looks like. Scary, yet thrilling." "And worth it," Sarah nodded, the energy around them electric with possibility. In this moment, they were both standing with their feet in the tumultuous waters of the unknown, yet reaching for clarity together. As the phone chimed with immediate feedback from Ben, a knot of anxiety twisted in Tom's belly, intertwining with the excitement of change. With Sarah by his side, the fire of courage propelled him to face whatever lay ahead. Are you ready? Sarah asked, rising to her feet as a wave of determination swept through her. Ready or not, here goes, he replied, feeling buoyed by her presence. The moment held the promise of transformation, and he could already sense the stirrings of new beginnings awaiting just beyond that precipice of fear. Before they could absorb the impact of the interaction, another buzz sounded from the device, one that felt more like an echo of their intertwined fates than a simple notification. What awaited them on the other side? The phone buzzed again, the sound slicing through the charged atmosphere. Tom's heart raced as he glanced at the screen. It was Ben, and though the man's message was brief, a rush of adrenaline cascaded through him. Hey, glad you reached out. Can we meet tomorrow? I think we need to talk. The invitation sent his mind spinning. What did that even mean? He had tipped the first stone into a precarious well, and now its ripples widened, threatening to topple the delicate equilibrium he had clung to. Are you okay? Sarah's question grounded him, peeling back layers of his internal chaos. He was aware of her gaze, steady and probing, urging him to engage with his thoughts. I think I need some air, he muttered, rising abruptly. Let us go for a walk, she suggested, seamlessly matching his urgency. As they stepped outside, the air was cool and crisp, a fleeting contrast to the tempest brewing within him. Each breath was laced with the weight of decision, his past and present colliding in a cacophony of fear and curiosity. They ambled along the tree-lined street, the rhythmic crunch of gravel beneath their feet mirroring the rapid beat of his heart. With each step, Tom processed their budding plan to confront buried truths. How often had he avoided confrontation, letting unresolved issues fester in shadowy corners? Why do I feel like I'm on the brink of something monumental? He questioned, partially to Sarah, partially to himself. Maybe because you are, she replied quietly, searching his face for understanding. This could be an opportunity to redefine everything. But it will be uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. The word struck a chord. For too long, Tom had played it safe, reinforcing barriers that shielded him from both pain and progress. It was easier to remain stagnant than risk the tumult that authenticity invited. But as the chill of the air prickled his skin, a flame ignited in his gut, a reminder that growth often demanded discomfort. If I meet with him, what will I say? Tom's mind raced ahead, scenarios swirling in and out of focus. Images of confrontations with apathy, anger, and regret sparked disorientation. You'll speak your truth, Sarah encouraged, her voice a soft balm against his anxiety. Whatever that looks like, embrace it. Remember, it's yours to share. He let the words settle, finding a flicker of determination within the chaos. What if he articulated his fears, confronted his wounds, and became the architect of his narrative? The idea felt both exhilarating and daunting, an invitation to step into the light after too long spent in shadow. Do you really believe I can do this? He asked, vulnerability seeping through his bravado. I know you can, Sarah responded, her confidence unwavering. You've taken the first steps already, and it's just the beginning. But you have to own it. The street before them stretched into the distance, uncharted yet teeming with possibility. Each footfall felt more purposeful, more aligned with the man he aspired to become. This engagement with Ben, no matter how stormy, was crucial to sever ties with an identity anchored in fear and self-doubt. They reached a secluded park bench, the sun dipping low in the sky, casting golden light across the ground. Tom perched on the edge, his heart still racing. What if I can't handle the fallout? Then you handle it, Tom, she implored gently. You face it head on. This is about you reclaiming your narrative, not just what was lost, but what could still be, despite the past. The emotional weight of her words enveloped him in an atmosphere both freeing and weighted. For years, he had let his wounds dictate his story, allowing moments of darkness to snuff out the flicker of potential he sensed inside. But embracing this authenticity felt like an act of defiance. As the sun dipped further and darkness crept in, he clung to the idea of confronting Ben not merely as a reunion of past grievances, but a stand for his future. He could feel momentum building, nudging him toward the transformation he desperately sought. Are you ready for this? Sarah's question drew him. back to the present, fraught with meaning. More than ready, he affirmed, a clarity breaking through the cloud of uncertainty. With a newfound determination, he accepted that the journey ahead involved more than confronting Ben. It was also about reconciling the man he had been with the one he aspired to be. For the first time in a long while, Tom felt grounded, as if the tumult within him had begun to crystallize into something tangible, something of purpose. Yet, as they left the park and stepped back into the swirl of the city, he couldn't shake the sense of impending confrontation that loomed. Tomorrow would bring the confrontation he dreaded, and even as he prepared for it, a nagging worry gnawed at him. What truths might emerge from the ashes of the past, and would he be ready to embrace them? The next morning dawned with an ominous quiet that blanketed Sarah's heart. As she stood in the kitchen, she could feel the weight of impending truth pressing down on her chest. With each tick of the clock, the time until Tom's meeting with Ben drew ever closer, an invisible rope tightening around her with every passing second. This moment was meant to be about clarity for Tom, to confront past demons and reclaim his narrative. But standing alone, she recognized an urgent need within herself. She had her own truths to uncover, her own insecurities to face. With each brush stroke of paint she had laid in vibrant bursts, she had subconsciously been expressing more than her artistic journey. She had painted the deep-rooted anxieties about her role in their relationship, about her fears of being unworthy post-confrontation. As Tom finally emerged from the bedroom, a cloud of disquiet settled around him. His expression bore the telltale signs of anxiety. They exchanged unsure glances as if the air between them carried conflicting currents of fear and determination. Today would not only shape Tom's relationship with Ben, it would demand introspection from Sarah, demanding she reflect on the path that had led to this point. "Ready?" she asked, infusing her voice with steadiness. However, the warmth didn't quite mask her own unease. Tom inhaled deeply, understanding the gravity of today's rendezvous, the complexity of negotiating both external and internal conversations. "As ready as I will ever be," he sighed. "That's a start," she replied. Before they left, Sarah paused, thrusting her hand into her painting apron, pulling out a small, colorful canvas she had completed just the night before, bold strokes of orange and yellow swirling with deep blues. "This is for you," she said, extending the piece toward him. "I want you to take this with you. Remember that you are not defined by your past, you're a vibrant hue on your own canvas." His eyes sparkled with genuine surprise, and the simple gesture left Tom feeling fortified amidst the turbulence of emotions. "Thank you. It's beautiful." Gazing at her piece, he felt tethered to something profound. This was a reminder of what lay ahead, an opportunity to redefine their union. The drive to the coffee shop where they would meet Ben felt endless, a cavernous space filled with dread and anticipation. Sarah's mind raced too. Could she truly stand by as Tom confronted his past? Would she find the courage to step into the new identity she had dared to craft? 1,000 worries danced in her brain. What if the meeting went south? What if Tom opened old wounds and fell into despair? What if he chose the comfort of nostalgia over the challenge of forging a future with her? As they navigated the bustling streets, Sarah held on to the thought of her own metamorphosis. Underneath the scattered fears, something deeper ignited within her. She had begun to reclaim her identity as an artist, but she had also evolved into a person who deserved assurance and legitimacy in her relationship. She needed to affirm that and thrive in it regardless of how Tom's meeting unfolded. Arriving at the cafe, Tom and Sarah stepped inside, the aroma of coffee weaving around them like an embrace. They scanned the room, spotting Ben near the back, arms crossed, expectations etched in his demeanor. The sight triggered an avalanche of thoughts, each competing to fill Sarah's ears. What if this doesn't end well? And what if Tom can't articulate his truths? But then she recalled her vibrant equinox canvas, the shifting colors and layered textures. Growth came from layers, from unveiling obscured depths to discover the brilliance beneath. They were determined to allow vulnerability to guide their growth, to embrace whatever truth awaited them. "Are you ready?" she asked softly, squeezing Tom's hand for an instant of shared strength. "As ready as I can be," he replied, and, as if an invisible force were compelling him forward, together they walked toward Ben. As Tom greeted his old friend, Sarah stepped back slightly. The nature of their Conversation slowly unfolded, like a well-composed piece of art revealing itself. As Tom spoke, she watched him lean into vulnerability, articulating emotions he had long feared to voice. "I've struggled with feeling lost," he confessed to Ben, a quiver betraying the mask he wore. "I didn't know how to navigate the shadows of the past without distancing myself from my present." Sarah felt pride swell within her as Tom's voice grew stronger, each syllable an encouragement. He was facing the very fears that had kept him from embracing vulnerability, and he was doing so with grace. It was a journey toward reconciling one she could deeply admire and support. "I want you to be part of my life, but it can't be by dragging past burdens into the light," he continued. "I want to create healthier foundations moving forward." Each brave word past his lips held weight, resonating within her heart and reinforcing her belief in their path forward. Tom was fully present, reclaiming who he was meant to be, rather than being defined by who he had been. As the conversation unfolded, Sarah felt an empowerment seep into her bones. He was claiming his narrative, but she also needed to claim her own. The very canvas she'd gifted reflected her journey. The colors signified that her identity in their partnership mattered just as much as his. At that moment, Sarah recognized she had to be open to the exploration, too. It was her turn to strengthen her voice now. She would press forward and rebound from old shadows. They would no longer fear connections, they would forge resilience instead. With renewed determination, she approached their table. "Can we talk, too?" she asked softly, her heart beating with authenticity. Tom met her gaze, a mixture of surprise and pride. Ben turned to her, curiosity circling. The air felt charged, an exhilarating pliability vibrating as Sarah began to weave her truths into the tapestry of their shared narrative. That day, transformations unfurled at the cafe with Tom, Ben, and Sarah recalling shadows, illuminating authentic selves instead. No longer would they drift in uncertainty, but would instead align with their truths. With each shared revelation, they forged a partnership that redefined their identities not as mere participants in a shared history but rather as architects of their collective future. And for Sarah, in that record-breaking moment of alignment and connection, she had achieved more than she thought possible. She had become the vibrant force she sought to embrace, forever altering the course of their relationship. She was now the artist painting her identity boldly, confident and competent as she painted not just the canvas in her studio, but the shores of a life flowing with authenticity and conviction. The vibrant hues of their intertwined lives beckoned forth a masterclass of growth awaiting only to be embraced. This is the moment, the transformation she had long awaited. What else might the future hold? Only time would tell, but together, they would navigate whatever paths lay ahead. Now, with a renewed sense of self and an inspiring partnership, both Tom and Sarah were ready to embrace the lifelong journey toward thriving together, as their painted canvases converged into one magnificent mural of identity, unity, and fulfillment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It really makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us discuss. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to share now. Don't wait even one more second to support the channel. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of these actions.